Hello, dear listeners. I'm your host, Genevieve Hopkins, and welcome to episode 17 of the Wheel and Cross podcast. Spring is deepening in my region. The yellow of early blooming jonquil and daffodil bulbs and the white of the nodding snowflakes and anemones have been joined by brightly coloured tulips and soon the blowsy ranunculus. Blossoms are decorating the pomme and stonefruit trees along the road verges and in the orchards. Shiny new leaves are sprouting on deciduous trees, blackberry brambles and raspberry canes. The vigorous winds have finally died down and the days are decidedly warmer and brilliantly sunny. In paddocks across the region, calves and lambs play merrily and wild bunnies enjoy the season's new shoots. I celebrated the first day of calendrical spring on the 1st of September in Australia by decorating my house for Oestre and the upcoming Spring Equinox on the 23rd of September. Many Oestre traditions and symbols would be familiar to those who celebrate Easter. We'll explore the history and folklore of Oestre and Easter in the next two episodes. In this episode, let's dive into Eastern European Spring Equinox celebrations, particularly the ritual of drowning the Morana. This podcast is free, but if you like my work and would like to support me so that I can continue doing it, please consider a paid subscription on the Wheel and Cross Substack page, www.wheelandcross.substack.com. If that is not possible, and you enjoy this podcast, I would really appreciate your reviews on any of the podcasting platforms you use. Feel free to share this podcast and leave comments on the podcast page. Welcome to episode 17 of the Wheel and Cross podcast, Spring Equinox and Eastern European Traditions. As always, I would like to acknowledge the custodians of these lands on which I work and live in Australia's capital region, the lands of the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people, and I pay my deep respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to all First Nations across Australia. We first met Morana in the Wheel and Cross podcast's episode 2, Hollis Day and the First Day of Winter, in the section about winter queens. She is called Marzena in Polish, Marena in Russian, Morana in Czech, Bulgarian, Slovene and Serbo-Croatian, Morena or Kiselika in Slovak and Macedonian, Mara in Belarusian and Ukraine. She is also known as Marui or Maruki, Marzena, Morena, Mora, Marmora, More and Kikimora in different Eastern European regions. Morana is a Slavic goddess associated with winter, death and rebirth. In Slavic mythology, she's often depicted as a fearful old hag, like the Baba Yaga, or as a beautiful but stern woman with long flowing black hair, dressed in white or black garments. Morana represents the cold, dark months of winter and the dormant period of nature. As the goddess of winter, Morana is both feared and respected. She is believed to bring frost and cold winds, and in some traditions, Morana is seen as the personification of death itself. She rules over the realm of the dead during the winter months. However, Morana is not solely associated with death and darkness. She also symbolises the cyclical nature of life and the promise of rebirth. In Slavic folklore, it is believed that Morana's departure marks the end of winter and the beginning of spring. Her departure is celebrated with various rituals and customs that signify the renewing and awakening of nature. The Eastern European tradition of killing Morana, either by drowning or burning, is a unique and fascinating springtime ritual. This tradition originates from Slavic and Balkan regions and is still celebrated in various countries, including the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, Russia, and Bulgaria. The ritual typically takes place on or around the spring equinox, marking the transition from winter to spring. Effigies of Morana are made from straw and dressed in traditional clothes, sometimes decorated with flowers or strung with necklaces made from eggs. The tradition is now usually carried out by children as part of their school activities, and often there is a competition to judge the most beautiful Morana effigy. On the day of the ritual, the Morana effigy is carried in procession to a body of water, such as a river or pond. Villagers gather to participate in the ceremony, often dressed in traditional clothes. The effigy is then set adrift on the water, and sometimes even burned as a symbolic act of bidding farewell to the cold season and welcoming the warmer months of spring. As the Morana effigies are carried away by currents or consumed by flames, winter is defeated and life triumphs over death. You've just heard a Slovenian folk song for the drowning Morana ritual that can be found on YouTube, with an accompanying video depicting girls in traditional Slovenian costume dancing around their Morana effigy. The lyrics, translated into English, say, "At someone's roof a dove is sitting, and it is cooing and asking for our Morena. We won't give her until Easter Day. She will wed in violet wreath." While the specifics of the drowning or burning Morana ritual may vary from region to region, the underlying theme remains consistent: a celebration of the changing seasons and a powerful metaphor for the renewal of nature. Drowning Morana vividly represents the age-old cycle of life, death, and rebirth, mirroring ancient agricultural rhythms that continue to echo through Eastern European cultures. Do you celebrate spring and the spring equinox? What's your favourite seasonal spring tradition? Stay tuned for the next 2 episodes, where we'll take a deep dive into the history and traditions of Easter and Oestre. Until then, may your days be marked with increasing warmth and kind weather. See you next week for episode 18, Spring Equinox, Oestre, Easter, and eggs.